For hundreds of years, the Amazon jungle has attracted explorers from all over the world. Many in search of new territories, others in search of riches, and even some with hopes of uncovering lost legends. Few of these men return successful, the majority returning defeated and empty-handed, with thousands of lives lost along the way. Today these men, such as Sir Walter Raleigh, Schomburg, Humboldt, represent a time in the past, an era long gone. It's hard to believe that there rests one who still walks among us today.
Watch out. See that? Beautiful.
Charles Brewer-Carias continues this legacy.
Yes, I'm a discoverer. I'm an explorer. In the 19th century way to see things, not in the 20th, because it wouldn't be understood in my own time. It will be understood in new generations to come, and the people that will read my books or read what I have stated and as a testimony on my lifetime.
Well, Charles is a true romantic. He is a 15th century or 16th century explorer in our time, which is out of his own time. In a world of specialists, he's a generalist, and he devotes himself totally, and this is sometimes even to the detriment of his family and friends, to his scientific work and to explore. Well, I met Charles at the country club and the gym just by coincidence, and we started working out together, and he started asking me what kind of activities I did. So we coincided in a lot of things. I was a diver, pilot, climber, and I'd been to a lot of places that he had also been. And we just started teaming together naturally. It came very natural.
Charles Brewer-Carias was born and raised in Caracas, Venezuela. His grandfather had first come to the country as an English diplomat, married a Venezuelan, and decided to remain.
My companions in the school said that when I was 7, I was looking for things and seeds and animals and insects, and I have a collection of insects, and I still have insects mounted from when I was about 10 years old, 12 years old. So it has been always that way, trying to see around me and be able to look and see things that people cannot see.
It is very funny because in the school everyone was, oh, what do your dad does? No? And, oh, my dad is a lawyer. Oh, my dad is an architect. And Karen, what's your dad? Oh, my dad is an explorer. What? An explorer? And what's that? He goes into the jungle for several days and discovers new things. Wow, everyone is, this kind of thing doesn't exists today. So everyone wants to see what my dad does, and we always go show and tell in the school, and he brings the new spider that he discovered or bring the new whatever, and everyone is like, oh my God, it's so weird, and everyone like, oh Karen, and you went and explain in a journal with your dad? Yes, and I did this, and I went to the jungle and we survived and eat bugs and everything, and everyone in my school were so surprised because it's not common nowadays to see an explorer. It's like they're all extinct.
You have an ant on you. He's crawling on your neck. Can I flick him off? Oh.
Oh. It's like to be a child again and to be obsessed and just see things that will be awesome and determine that they are awesome and take them from their context and say, this might be new. And nowadays, anything that I think could be new, it is. For instance, flying over one of these mountains that we have around the Puys, the flat top mountains, I saw a little hole in the mountain, on the top, shadow. And I asked the pilot of the helicopter, could you turn around? I would like to take a picture of that. That looks like a bridge of rock. Continue. Could you please turn around that I would like to take some pictures of that bridge of rock? Well, it was impossible for me to explain him that I have seen something different, like a river that came from nowhere, and I thought it could be a bridge. And he was discussing and telling me that there were thousands of such bridges, thousands of such holes. So I decided to come back to that mountain, which I could memorize, because I have a special geographical mind. And I could return to the mountain, and when I returned to the mountain with a flight, I decided to call several friends and say, I would like you to accompany me to have lunch or dinner in a bridge of rock. So we gathered 12 people with Federico Mayoral to prepare a sushi and a Thai soup, and we discovered the biggest cave in the world on quartzite. That was the little hole I saw. And we have been exploring it for 9 expeditions, and now we know it has over 23 kilometers long. It should be about 15 miles long under quartzite. And the difference is the huge cave is in quartzite rock, not in carbonate, not in calcareous, but quartzite. And this is what makes it so special. So the size also, the volume of air it has inside, and besides that, a strange new forms of life, the bioskeletons or bioskeletons.
These new forms of life that we have found in this cave are totally new. It's a biomineral. It's a biological or living organism whose sub-metabolic process is opal, which is a mineral. So it's a living organism whose sub-product is a mineral. He produces a mineral. How he does this, we don't know. Or what he feeds on, we don't know. We know his metabolic rate is very, very slow. It takes 7,000 years to grow 1 millimeter in size. And we have seen samples that are 780,000 years old. So this is very interesting for science, and this is one of the things that explorers live for.
Today, what can you explore? There is everything has been discovered now, you know? And my dad keeps discovering new things, and everyone's like, oh my God, you know, things that you cannot ever imagine. Like the bioskeletons, for example. How you can explain to a person that thinks that everything is discovered, oh, I find a new form of life that has not been known yet. It's not a bird, it's not a mammal, it's not anything that you know. It is a mineral that lives inside a cave. Wow.
So I just saw first a little hole. Then we explored that little hole, which was a cave, and then when we published, we discovered the biggest cave in the world in quartzite rock. To decide to transmit that information forever and give it to the rest of the world forever history. That's very exciting.
Charles Brewer-Carias dutifully followed in the footsteps of his father. Born and raised in Caracas, Venezuela, he successfully completed dentistry school in 1960 at 20 years of age. Soon after his completion, he started to practice his trade. However, this conventional path soon took a new turn. Approached by an anthropologist looking for dentists willing to work with the indigenous people deep into the Venezuelan jungle, Charles eagerly put his name forward.
John.
He started to travel to the Orinoco Basin and became increasingly well-versed in the field of dental anthropology. His curiosity, not surprisingly, prompted him to extend these visits, and he soon found himself completely immersed in the indigenous culture.
We are here now at the Yequana village. Yequana. This means the people of the floating log, the sailors. We are in the Orinoco Basin, north of South America, and in a savanna called Wameriwachi. Actually, this village is known as Kanarakuni. And in the Kanarakuni, Kanarakuni Nyankomo are the people that live here. I visited this place in 1964 when I was trying to reach, and I reached and I slept there in the night of from 1964 to New Year's Eve to 1965. Being there, I tried to reach the sinkhole, but I found that it was very far. So I had to wait for 10 years. So in 1974, I was able to discover and explore and discover the sinkholes, the biggest in the world, on top of this mountain of Sari-Sariñama. So now we will have an experience of life, of how these people are able to use the resources of an isolated place in the jungle, and how these resources have been built up and have been used for maybe, has been calculated, 8,000 years. It's absolutely normal and everyday. That's the bread of every day. But the information about the whole procedure, the time it takes, the temperature, the kind of root they are using, is something that could be lost, not actually in a generation, but yes, very soon. Look at the liquid coming out.
That's the poison?
So it's being squeezed from here. The manihot crated is in here, has been poured in and then stretched, and this will work like the Chinese finger trap. The moment you pull it, it gets smaller. It was very easy to carry it this way. You see, when you pull it here, it will stretch. See how it goes? You stretch and it will squeeze the juice of the poisonous juice out. After that has been squeezed, we have the big dried part of the already crated manihot. In this moment, they are cutting the squeezed the poison of the yucca after being crated has been squeezed through the baskets that are in the back there, and which will we be seeing. We have seen how it is squeezed out, and now that it's dried, they are going to put it through a sieve in order to obtain the flour. This is extremely poisonous. If you eat this flour like it is now, you'll die. So you have to go through all the stages, from an incredible root that only grows in the jungle, or you could cultivate in this kind of soil which is very poor, to yielding finally the u, or bread, as they name it. try to understand that they are depending on this kind of bread. And it is so important that it only has one vowel to express it, and that vowel is U. That means bread. We call it cassave, but that is no other word. Akawansheda. Namayawa. Namayawa, the one shebu. Eda. Medehe. Conera, wanshi. Namay. Huh? Namma. Yes, they say it's poisonous. I will die if I eat that. So it is the second stage, because the first stage is to squeeze the juice, the most poisonous juice, but it has some remnant of juice, so it has to be heated out in order to render it edible. The process is distributed through all the Amazonia and Orinoco basin, so it must be 8,000 years old, which is more or less the time that these cultures have been able to spread. 8,000 years, and it is in many different speaking stock languages, not only the Carib, but also Arawak, Tupi-Guarani. They all make the same process. So it must have been very, very old. So they have developed a technology which is being lost. It's being lost because our civilization, the Western consumerism civilization, is offering them so many goods to acquire that they are getting in that trend, and they are trying to leave behind their knowledge of how to use the jungle. I have the concern, I have the anguish that this incredible knowledge is going to be lost maybe in a couple of generations. For some people, they are doomed already. But in this case, being so far, in a couple of generations, all the lore, the information, the knowledge, how to use this and how to use this jungle and keep it sustainable for them is going to be lost. So part of our trip, it is to go into their culture and see in a glimpse, what do they do? I remember that my son asked me after my first expedition that, because he knew about that first expedition later, and he asked me about that first expedition into the Indians, living with the Indians, learning that language. He asked me, and when did you return? I told him I never returned. I stayed there in a certain way. I learned so much of the people, so much of the enormous information that they had, and the value that they had because of that information. I realized that any of the men I had met, living with them, speaking with them, was able to construct the whole world again. They could know what to plant, what to eat, how to process, how to make a basket, where get the material, how to make a boat, how to make the paddles, how to fish, how to capture animals, how to make their weapons. And I realized, as they accused me to be so, that I was a child. I was a child in the world, in my world that never matures. But when I went there and I started learning, I realized that I was part, not of nature, I was being built as a human being, in the sense that I was able to restore, if I would study what they were doing as I was doing, restore the whole civilization again, their civilization. So I learned step by step everything they were doing, almost.
and I was almost considered like a man among them. I realized that they had an information that we didn't have. They have a maturity and the power and the sense of power that gives you to know that you can control the whole environment that you have. We don't have that sense. We are whacked from one side to the other. We are absolutely destroyed by any kind of catastrophe. And if we have a big catastrophe, we won't be able to do anything, because what we have are shoes, good shoes, a brand, television, satellites, the Blackberries or whatever. None of those we can make. We can acquire them. And this is another kind of values, the value of the consumerism. What I learned from these people was the value of being able to build everything you need. And in that sense, you are the owner of everything. The world is yours then, because you can make everything your imagination needs. So I learned to try to cope in my own culture, following the trends, following the steps of everything that I could build, make. This is what I learned from them. To try to be a whole man, a man that has the power to construct in base of the surroundings you have. That they acquire. We don't have it.
This sleeve is for making roofs, and this one is for packing and making bundles in order to cook inside a fire.
Charles is clear to make the distinction that he is not a taxonomist. However, this has not stopped him from discovering and helping to discover hundreds of new plants and animals to the world. 28 of these plants and animals have been named after him. But, as he says, these are only 28 of perhaps a couple of thousand new species yet to be discovered.
I'll show you a plant that has not been discovered. We're going to look at it for the first time. It will be the first group that will ever look at this plant that I consider was new. I took a picture and I sent it to several specialists like Gebnish, like Bruce Halls, like Brian Boom, and they say, we don't know what it is. They are the top of the Botanical Garden, the Zoo Botanical Gardens, Shelby Botanical Gardens. They say, we don't know. You should know. Yes, I know it's new. Well, tell me what it is. Tell me the family. Tell me the genera. We don't know. It's something spectacular. Pick us some of these leaves and bring it to us so we can make an ADN analysis. I will not pick it up. I want them to come with me to share with them that discovery.
And in this case, I was able to look at this plant and say, it is odd. It is odd against all the information I have in my hard disk. The way the leaves are assembled, the way that the leaves have the spiral, the texture of the leaves, it looks like nothing known yet. So maybe when you have your film, we have this film, we will know what plant is this. I send out one leaf to make the DNA and check what it is. I don't want to take the plant or one plant because it's a unique plant that is known in the whole mountain till now. Maybe more items like this will be discovered or will be found, but right now it's the only one I have found and that no one else have seen it. It will take 200 years for anyone to find a new family. So this is a very exciting moment in the sense that it's a unique situation to find maybe a new family and to find a new genera. That is extraordinary.
When you walk with him, he has devoted his life to explore and to gather knowledge of what surrounds him in the moment he's exploring.
But you might squish them all and take the grubs and eat them there.
I don't think he will ever, or I really hope, he'll never be in a survival position. But it would be very nice to know that if you're flying over the jungle all the time, helicopters, planes, whatever, if you land in the jungle, how are you going to be able to survive? So it's a very comforting thing to know that you will be able to survive. If you survive the crash or the accident, you'll be able to live in the forest forever.
I consider I have the world record. 2.3 seconds has been filmed.
I didn't hear the clappings.
When I mean exploring, when I mean discovering, it's not necessarily to discover in nature. It's to discover in any field that you like. You might be discovering in mathematics, you might be discovering business, you might be discovering advertising, you might be discovering fashion, you might push the frontiers, the border of the knowledge beyond what it is. That's what I mean to discover. That's what I mean to explore. Explore your world, your own world. It doesn't have to be the world of jungles. Can be the world of the city, the world of your environment. And that environment could be your own place. That environment could be you, a successful filmmaker or a fashion designer. You can explore in those fields and just progress. This is what I mean to discover and to explore. And this is what I mean of keeping young, always thinking in new things to come. There's no limit for human imagination and discovery. Discovery is a property of men, or a feature that man has. And since he was able to discover, he was able to be the dominant animal in the world. When we took off in the airplane, I was looking through the window and looking towards the future. I was looking and imagining myself, how would that be in the future? How would it be destroyed? Or it would be burned out because the jungle is being burned because of lack of respect to the information it yields. And I was trying to see if I might never return back. So I was looking as a farewell to that place. And I was sad because if I don't come back, if I don't bring the ideas I have to try to save these people, save them from themselves, because they have lost the faith on themselves. So I'm trying to restore the faith in their values. And this anguish, this hopeless, this powerless situation which I feel is what I was looking out by the window. I was looking at the future of destruction if we don't do anything. Yes, I have devoted my life to explore and discover. And the important thing about this is that in a certain way I have never been other thing than a child. So as a child I have been growing with the idea of discovering, as any little boy will do. Explore the surrounding, discover every day. So the anxiety that keeps me on the move is to see the horizon and go beyond, is to discover things that never have been seen before or heard or even thought about. And this is what the life is about. If you continue on discovering and looking around you and exploring in any field of life, then you will never get old. You may grow in years, but not old, because you're always in that sense. So that, I think, will be an advice for the young people, to keep on exploring, to keep on discovering. That will take them all the way, all their life, to have a really fruitful life and full of wonders.